I know we already knew this was the case, but now the White House is being open about only allowing people they like to cover Trump. Yep. White House removes liberal outlet from press rotation. At first, they removed AP News because they were triggered by AP News correctly referring to the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of Mexico. And now, who are they removing now? Huffington Post got an email from press wrangler Allison Schuster asking which reporter would take the organization's spot in the pool. Hours later, SV Date, HuffPost's White House correspondent, got a text from Schuster. Hey, so sorry for the late notice, but we can't actually fit you in the pool tomorrow. At 5:59 a.m., he got another text identifying a different publication that would serve as the print pooler. Huh. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt previewed on Tuesday that the Trump administration would determine which outlets have access to the president as part of the pool allowed into the Oval Office, aboard Air Force One, and into other meetings and events that cannot accommodate the full press corps. And they also want to remove people from the press corps, mind you. The White House later called Axios. Axios accepted the display of many reporters on campus. People are annoyed, to say the least. They have literally said that getting to access the president is a privilege, not a right. They have explicitly said that. They will try to insulate themselves from critical questions as much as is possible. There's a reason why every time we get any video from the Oval Office, when Trump is signing executive orders, the reporters that are there are asking questions like, dude, how epic is it that Doge has already found 100 trillion in waste? And by the way, how do you stay in shape at your age? You know, like that's the level of sycophantry we're seeing from the press corps allowed into those smaller gatherings. And they're going to do that for the main press corps as well. They don't want any hardball or fastball, I guess, questions. They certainly don't want any knuckleball questions, because I recently saw a YouTube short on how a knuckleball works, where like it's a lost start and you're supposed to like throw it with no spin so the wind acts in it in a very peculiar fashion. They don't want any knuckleball questions, okay? That's for sure. That cabinet meeting earlier barred Reuters, HuffPost, AP, and a German newspaper from entering it. Fantastic. Yeah, between this and them cutting back on town halls because their constituents are increasingly furious about the Medicaid cuts and the federal workers losing their jobs and the veterans and so on and so forth, in keeping with the administration's new policy regarding media coverage, denied access to AP, Reuters, HuffPost, and Der Tagesspiegel, a German newspaper. They did allow ABC, Newsmax, Axios, The Blaze, Bloomberg News, and NPR. Really like a rogues gallery of journalistic organizations. ABC, Newsmax, Axios, Bloomberg, and NPR. The Blaze. Literally like, what's that old Daily Wire affiliated quote-unquote newspaper that we used to cover more often? The Post-Millennial? No, the Post-Millennial was run by... I don't remember. None of these feel that relevant anymore. It wasn't the Post-Millennial, right? It was, Babylon Bee? No, that's not what I'm thinking of. Wasn't that Lauren Chen? Maybe. Wasn't there another one? I'm moisturizing, by the way. You guys should do it more often. That's why you're busted and I'm fish. BuzzFeed? No, not Epoch Times. The one run by, the fucking Daily Wire. Breitbart! I'm thinking of Breitbart. They're not run by the Daily Wire, but I'm thinking of Breitbart. None of you came up with that? I have an excuse. I'm brain damaged. What's your excuse? Probably also brain damage. Pieces of shit. The three wire services that have traditionally served as permanent members of the White House pool, the AP, Bloomberg, and Reuters, on Wednesday released a statement in response to the new policy. Not that it matters much. It is essential in a democracy for the public to have access to news about their government from an independent free press. Nope! Not anymore, dipshit. We believe that any steps by the government to limit the number of wire services with access to the president threatens that principle. It also harms the spread of reliable information to people, communities, businesses, and global financial markets that heavily depend on our reporting. This is true. This is also the reason why Newsmax, Fox News, and the like argued that AP News should be allowed back into the press pool. The reason for that being that a lot of them use AP News footage and reporting in order to, like, they do their reporting off of that. You know, they use it basically as C-SPAN. This is true, though. I do like this appeal at the end, by the way, that you have reliable information to people, communities, okay, that makes sense, businesses, and global financial markets, which is really like a reminder the instability being propped up by this regime is not... Look, I'll put it this way, okay? You know how there are a million jokes about how in the Soviet Union, you know, like the initial estimate of factory shoe production was 500,000. The estimated target by the party official that run the factory was 1 million. The actual, like the estimated production was 2 million, and the actual amount produced was nobody knows. That works just fine when everyone involved in production, distribution, and wearing the damn things are party officials and people adherent to them. That doesn't work when you have to trade with other countries. You understand what I'm getting at here? We don't live in the 1930s anymore, okay? We live in the modern world where keeping extremely close track of financial markers, production, all that business, really important to keep things going. God only knows what all the misrepresentation of, you know, the budget cuts prompted by Doge, how that's going to end up looking, you know, in the long run, when they're lying about how much they've cut, and you get these misrepresentations that are reflected in the next budgetary bill, but in reality, the money wasn't actually cut, so there's spending happening that isn't accounted for, and we start hitting the debt limit sooner than we're supposed to, and people start wondering whether or not the debt the United States government holds is actually real, because we might be underestimating how much of it we actually hold. There's no room for estimates in finance anymore. Nope. You need to have that shit down to the cent. Down to the fraction of a cent. Between that and the cancellation of the town halls, well, we'll see. We'll see, man. Basically, the point that I'm making is that it's not Nazi Germany anymore, you know? You can no longer sustain an enclosed environment of hyper-irrationality. There's one country on Earth that is famous for being able to do this. You can all probably guess what it is, and that's because they practice, Judaism? I never know how to pronounce it. I've never pronounced it the same way twice in a row. By isolating themselves and becoming a hermit kingdom, they are able to maintain like a sustained environment of irrationality. But if you want to engage with the rest of the world, with financiers and politicians who rely on accurate figures, it just doesn't work. Juche also work. Juche. I keep wanting to say Jusha, like Juche or something like that, but that's not right. Juche. It sounds like I'm mispronouncing it, but you know. Reminds me of the North Korean troops in Ukraine who got addicted to Genshin Impact. Yep, once you escape the Hermit Kingdom and you're exposed to the contagions of the modern world, it's over for you. It's like those villages in sub-Saharan Africa where they got Starlink internet and the men in the village discovered porn and now they're like useless and won't work because they're gooning all day. That was misinfo. It's true in my heart.